Hello, my name is Susie Hincks, and in 1989 I was diagnosed with a mild form of schizophrenia. I grew up on a farm in southwest Western Australia, and I went to boarding school for my high school years. I worked on the farm, and then a few years later I went to university to study English, but at that stage I started getting depressed. That was the beginning of my illness. I had a long prodromal period, which means I had a very long, slow slide into illness. I lost most of my 20s to the illness. I wasn't diagnosed until 1989 when I was 28. My symptoms were mainly negative. I was withdrawn, and I had a lack of self-care, and particularly frightening for me were the paranoias and delusions. Under police escort, I was taken to Greylands Hospital, which is the major psychiatric hospital in Perth in Western Australia. And I was taken there against my will, and when I was in the hospital they gave me medication. It started to work almost immediately, and the change was dramatic. My mother was coming to see me in the hospital. She said it was almost overnight that I changed. I began being able to sit down with her and have a proper conversation again. When you're ill, it's as if there is a wall between you and the rest of the world. That wall came down with the medication. I was put on a pension so that I could survive. I started getting in touch with my friends again. I had, of course, been cut off from them because of the nature of the illness. It's a very lonely illness, and people tend not to want to be around you, and you don't want to be around people. So I began rebuilding my life. I started doing some courses. I did a little bit of work looking after children, and I got back into music and reading, which I'd always really enjoyed before my illness. And life began again for me. And it was good. And I looked back and realised how sick I'd been, which of course is part of the illness. You don't realise you're sick. Empowerment is really important for people with lived experience of mental illness and their families and carers, because you become so marginalised with an illness. It's the people with the lived experience that are going to come up with the creative ideas. The researchers are in their particular niche, and that's usually where they stay. I often see it as someone like me being a catalyst, adding the human element, which is so important because we're all human, we can all relate to that. So I rebuilt relationships, and that's where I am today. I've been a community representative, a consumer representative on a number of things to do with mental health, which I believe in very strongly. That takes away so much of your life, your capacity to love, to live, to work. And today I live in Perth, Western Australia, and thank you very much for listening.